Good morning, everybody. This is Sarah. Today we are going to be making a inlaid crushed glass mirror, and while it is not a Dollar Tree project, some of the items do come from Dollar Tree. The items that I did pick up at Dollar Tree were this round mirror and this plate. It's just a plastic serving tray you can pick up. The other items we'll be using is some wire. I have this blue crushed glass that I picked up in the floral section of a craft store, and some Mosaic grout. The other items I'll be using is some white paint. I will be painting the frame of the mirror white to match the grout. And I'll be using Mod Podge hard coat, and this is a very hard, durable Mod Podge. It's a furniture grade Mod Podge. Normally, when you're working with mosaics, you could just use a grout sealer. However, because of the way we'll be applying the glass, I will be using something that will hold a little stronger because we will need that additional adherence to make sure that the glass stays in the grout. All right, let's get started. All right, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this plastic tray and I'm going to drill 2 holes through it, and I'm going to use these holes to run some wire through, and that will be to hold the mirror. Right now I'm using a Dremel, but as you've seen in some of my other videos, you can use a hot glue gun to melt through plastic. There we go for that. Now I'm just going to take a length of wire and I am going to run it through from the back side here. This will be the side that hangs, and bend up the ends here on this side. Now we want to be sure we have plenty of room here so that it has room to hold the wall past where this curves in, because our mirror will be curving in. So you do want to make sure you have plenty of wire. All right, and then what you want to do is be sure that you have that wire also adhered in nice and tight. And you can use a hot glue for that. You can use E6000, whatever you would like to do. While the paint is drying on the mirror frame, what I'm going to do is come back on this plate, and it has a fairly high ridge here on the bottom, so I am going to sand that down just a little bit. I don't want that showing through the finished product. And for that, I'm going to use my Dremel again. All right, and there we go. We have that edging just sanded down to a much more manageable level. I'm not worried about whether or not the grout will be covering it. So next we will take our mirror base, and I'm going to lay it down and find about where the center point is. So we want to get this as close as possible. There we go. I think that looks good, and then I'm going to trace around it with a Sharpie. And that will give me a pretty good idea where I am going to be centering that mirror and gluing it on when we are ready for the next step. All right, now at this point, I have sanded around the outside of the plate. You can see it kind of has a frosted appearance, and that is due to the sanding. So it has just a little bit more grip than it would have before for the grout. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere my mirror onto the bottom here of the plate. All right, so I'm going to be putting my mirror back together, and we will be hot gluing it right here where we had made the circle originally. Now what we're doing here is laying down a fairly thick portion of the grout over the plastic serving dish that will be serving as the frame of the mirror, and working in small sections. You are going to alternate between laying out the grout and then taking the glass stones and pushing them into the grout in a fairly thick layer so that as if you come out later, it won't really matter. You'll still have a nice finished look to it, and you keep working around the mirror until you have the entire piece covered in the stones and the grout. When you're done, you can go back over. If you see any blank spaces, you can go ahead and fill those in with a few extra stones, as the grout will take a while to set up. And again, a few pieces will come out later. Again, that's no big deal. You can go back in and repair that during the final step of the process. Okay, now that we have the entire mirror covered with the grout and the glass shards, we're going to let it set overnight to get good and dry, and then we're going to come in and clean it up a little bit. Now that the grout is completely dry on our mirror, what we are going to do is just take some water on a sponge, and we are going to start cleaning up very gently any places that need cleaned up, where the grout is over the glass and so forth. Right here, I don't know how well you can see it, is a good example. The grout has gotten over the glass in a few places, so we are going to clean that grout off of there, just so it has a nice finished look to it. And you just need to work gently, since these glass pieces are just pushed into the grout, so that they don't come off. And in our last step, any place that we feel we need to go back in and add a piece to, just for the finished look, or if one came out, then we will do that with the sealing process. And under normal conditions, you would use like a Mosaic grout sealer, some sort of grout sealer. But in this circumstance, with these small pieces, and I want a little better adherence, I'm going to be using a hard coat Mod Podge to kind of hold those in a little bit better. It is a furniture grade Mod Podge, so that will help hold these pieces in place. So I'm just going to go around and continue working to get all the rest of the grout off of the glass pieces. And when I'm done with that and it's dried up, then we will come back in and start applying the Mod Podge. Alright, now that we have all this cleaned off, all the extra grout, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, like I said, with the Mod Podge hard coat. And just spilled it on myself. But I'm going to go in using a pouncer, and I'm just going to pounce it all over, a nice thick coat. And I'm going to do this all over the frame, and this is going to help hold in these stones a little bit better. And after this first coat that we want to add back in, we'll just go ahead and do that with a little bit of E6000 before we do our final coat of the Mod Podge. Okay, so let's just go ahead and continue around. Get a nice thick coat all the way around on this. And I am using a pouncer because I do not want brush strokes on this, and I want it to be nice and thick but a little bit gentler per se than would necessarily have if we were trying to brush it on over these pieces, because we are going to have to work at keeping them in place.
Here's the finished mirror, and I think it looks just great hanging on the bedroom wall here. It gives a lot of character to the room. As you can see, we have some other brighter blues in the room, and I just love the feel that it gives. So this will be something that will definitely be staying. And if you like this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.